A very good morning to all of you, my dear students of class 7 B and C. I'm your SST teacher Vineet Kumar Shukla, and I'm ready to teach today's class of social science. Yesterday we were discussing our history book. The name of this book is Our Past Part 2. It means we are discussing about medieval time period, and I have told a lot of things about this chapter to you people, and I think right now slowly we are about to finish this chapter. Yesterday I gave you one sort of homework, language and region. Some of you people have done it, but maximum of you people did not try to answer it. So I request all of you to please solve this question, solve this homework that was provided to you by me yesterday, and give it to me. I was discussing yesterday about old and new religions. Okay, I was studying yesterday about old and new religions. We are trying to keep our eye on this issue. The thousands years of history that we are exploring witnessed major developments in religious tradition. Correct? People's belief in divine was sometimes deeply personal, but more usually it was a collective. It means collective rituals used to be conducted more in comparison to personal ritual. Collective belief in supernatural agency, religion, was often closely connected with the social and economic organization of local communities. As the social worlds of these groups altered, so too did their belief. These things, the religious part of Indian culture was closely connected with the social and economic life of the common people, and as the social norms, the social value used to be changed, the rules and regulation of religions were also used to be changed, and used to be changed at that time period. It was during this period that the important changes occurred in what we call Hinduism today. Right now, the religion that we call Hinduism today, several kind of important changes uh, developed at that time period. At the time period of those 1000 years, from 700 to 1750. These included the worship of new deities, new god and goddesses, the construction of temples by royalty. The emperor used to construct temples, and the growing importance of Brahmins. And the importance of Brahmins was also grown up. The priests, the dominant group in the society. Not only Brahmins were considered superior, but along with them, the priests and the dominant groups in the society were also given importance. Further, I told you that the knowledge of Sanskrit text earned Brahmins a lot of respect in the society. Their dominant position was consolidated by the support of their patrons, new rulers searching for prestige, and due to the knowledge of Sanskrit, Brahmins were respected in the society because it was known that all the important writings, all the important books have been written in Sanskrit language only at the time period. So the importance of Sanskrit, due to the importance of Sanskrit, Brahmins were respected in the society. Their dominant position was consolidated by the support of their patrons. And who are their patrons? New rulers searching for prestige. The new rulers who used to search for their respect, who used to search for their establishment, their empire, they used to give importance to these Brahmins and these practices, these activities of Brahmins. And so that is why Brahmins were um, becoming important at that time period. One of the major development of this period was to the emergence of the idea of bhakti. Yesterday I told you some new sects, Sufi movement and Bhakti movement. I take those two names. So now Bhakti movement is coming. One of the major development of this period was the emergence of the idea of bhakti. Bhakti means of a loving personal deity, to love a particular god or goddess, and devotees could reach without the aid of priests or elaborate rituals. Now, see, sometimes there are no Brahmins, there are no Pandits in the society. Even then, we pray to God, we love Almighty, we love to particular Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Devi Ji, Durga Ma, etc. And without the help of any priest or any Brahmin, we try to reach reach to and devotees could reach without the aid of priests or elaborate rituals, and without any important rituals or without any any Brahmin, the people used to reach or used to reach to the condition of that loving status, that shelter, that blessing of that particular god or goddess. So such a thing is called bhakti moment. Bhakti means a loving attitude of prayer that is self aware, that comes from self hurt, and that is important in the society, is called bhakti movement. You will be learning about this and other tradition in chapter number 8, and we will have a good eye upon this bhakti movement and this this other tradition like sufi movement in chapter number 8. Now, next paragraph, page number 12. This was also the period when new religions appeared in the subcontinent. Merchants and migrants. Now, two words are there. Number one, merchants mean the purpose who moves from one place to another. The group of people who move from one place to another place with the purpose of business, with the purpose of trade and commerce. And migrants means a people that comes from outside to our country for some specific purpose is called migrants. So the merchant and migrants first brought the teaching of the Holy Quran to India. Okay, and they first brought the teaching of the Holy Quran. You know, Holy Quran. What do you mean by Quran? A famous book of Muslim religion. The merchants and migrants first brought the teachings of the Holy Quran to India in the 7th century. Again, I said it was the 7th and 8th century when Muslim people came to India. Sorry, they came to India first. Okay, so merchants and migrants from first brought the teaching of the Holy Quran to India in the 7th century. Muslims regard the Quran as their holy book and accept the sovereignty of the God. Allah, whose love, mercy, and bounty embrace all those who believe in Him without regard to social background. This was considered that the blessing of Allah is equally upon of every individual, and the equality of religion, the equality of caste, the equality of bhakti was brought by Muslim people to our country. And Muslim regard the Quran as their holy book 100% and accept the sovereignty of the one God. And in Muslim religion, the concept of monotheism is followed. So they believe in only one God. They did not believe in many gods like Hindu religion. And Allah, whose love, mercy, and bounty embrace all those who believe in Him without regard of social background. And Allah, what does God do? Does God is equally to all, equal mercy, equal bounty, and equal embrace to all those who believe in Him without any regard of social or economic background. Many rulers were patron of Islam and ulema. Now, two words have come. The many rulers were patron of Islam. Islam means Muslim religion, Islam religion, and ulema. Now, this word has come ulema. Ulama, actually, it has been written, but it is pronounced ulema. So, ulama or ulema, who were they? They were Muslim religious teachers. Muslim teachers were called ulema. So ulema learned theologies. Now again a new word came. What do you mean by theologian? Theologians word has come from theology, and theology means the study of religion. The study of religion is called theology. Okay, and jurists. So I mean ulema means the Muslim dharm gurus and the Muslim religious teacher. They used to take their education and they used to teach theologians, one who wants to become the expert of some religion, and jurists, and who wants to become judge and lawyer. Why? Because in Islam the judiciary system runs, the judiciary system runs by the religious teachers, by the ulemas, and it is based on the teachings of hadith, teachings of Quran, teaching of ism, and teaching of qiyas. And like Hinduism, Islam was interpreted in a variety of ways by its followers. And as the Hinduism was interpreted in various kind of number, different god and goddess were there. They used to be worshipped by different tradition. In the same way, Muslim religion was also interpreted in the same way, with the variety of followers. There were the Shia Muslims who believed that the Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law Ali was the legitimate leader of Muslim community. Now Shia Sunni dispute has come. Uh, the whole Muslim religion is divided into two parts. One is Shia and second is Sunni. The Sunni are conservative Muslims. They believe in old traditions, and they believe on the Sunnah. Sunnah. What do you mean by Sunnah or Sunnah? Sunnah is a collection of the preachings of Muhammad Sahab. So they only believe in that. But in Shia are liberal by nature, and they believe that the teachings of Muhammad Sanillah named Ali was also important, and they consider Muhammad Sanillah Ali was the legitimate leader of Muslim community. And the Sunni Muslims who accepted the authority of the early leaders. Shias does not accept the authority of the early leaders. After Muhammad Sahab, there became four Khalifas, very important: Khalifa Umar, Khalifa Usman, Khalifa Abu Bakr, and Khalifa Ali. So, Shia people does not accept the authority of those three Khalifas. They directly, after Muhammad Sahab, they directly accept the authority of Khalifa Muhammad Ali, who was fourth Khalifa of Islam. But between Muhammad Ali and Muhammad Sahab, there were three more Khalifa who took the power: Khalifa Umar, Khalifa Abu Bakr, and Khalifa Usman. Shias Muslim does not consider that Khalifa Ali, Khalifa Abu Bakr, and Khalifa Usman are also the part of Islamic religion. But Sunni Muslims consider that they are also the part of Islam, and they believe in their teachings also. Okay, so this was a dispute between Shias and Sunnis and the succeeding Khalifas. There were other important differences between the various schools of law in Hanafi and Shafi, mainly in इंडिया. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, ये दो, एक हनफी और शफिया, ये दो टाइप की विचारधाराएं हैं. दीज आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ स्कूल ऑफ थॉट्स that are also in India. On this issue the Muslim people quarrel, and in theology and mystic tradition, and some problem in theology. Again I said, what do you mean by theology? Theology means the study of religion is called theology, and mystic tradition means jadoo tona, and some special type of supernatural power. So there is confusion, there is a condition of dilemma that whether these things are good or bad for the society people. But still people believe, some people believe, one who is not uneducated and little bit not modern, so he or she will believe in those things. The next heading is thinking about time and historical periods. One thing I would like to request, that if you don't able to understand anything, then immediately please ask it to me. I request all of you. Okay, in my Google e-classroom or on WhatsApp, you may ask it. So now the next heading, thinking about time and historical periods. Historians do not see time just a passing of hours. Now this is the important point, that a history writer never looks for a time to only just as a passing of hour, days or years, as a clock or calendar. Okay, Time also reflects changes in the social and economic organization. 100%. Only studying the hour, the hours, the years, seconds, the calendar and clocks is not the subject matter of history. But what is the subject matter of history? To study the history from the point of view of social and economic changes, to read the history from the point of view of political changes, to read the history from the point of view of cultural changes, to read the history from the point of view of religious changes. Okay. Time also reflects changes in social and economic organization. In the persistence and transformation of ideas and beliefs. Okay, the history of time is made somewhat easier by dividing the part into large segment periods that possesses shared characteristics. Now, for our comfort and for the comfort of studying history, what have we done? We have divided history into three parts so that it becomes more easier than the on the basis of some specific characteristic we are able to divide history into various kind of parts. Now, what are those three parts? We can say that ancient history, then second medieval history, and third modern history are the three basic segments of Indian history. In the middle of 19th century, British historians divided the history of India into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. Now, in class 8, you learn that there was a famous historian named James Mill. There was famous historian named James Mill. This has been written in the first chapter of your history book of class 8. Okay, our past part third. If you read, then you will find that it is in the first chapter. So, in the middle of 19th century, the British historians divided the Indian history into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and Britishers. Okay, these three periods were divided by whom? By James Mill. But it was not a good division. This division was based on the idea that the religion of the rulers was the only important historical change that took place. Now, what was the base? What was the important line? What was the important baseline for such a kind of changes? That it was said that it was just due to because of the religion of the particular rulers who took part in ruling over India for a long period of time. I mean, they tried to say that in earlier in Indian people used to be Hindus, and Hindus rulers were there in all over the country. During medieval time period, the Muslim rulers were there to rule over the country, and in modern time now Britishers are there to rule over the country. So that is why they divided Indian history into three parts on the basis of religion, and those religions were Hindu, Muslim, and British. This division was based on the idea that the religion of rulers was the only important historical change, and that there were no other significant developments in the economy, society, or culture. And they thought that only the significant change that came in the society was only in the religion of the rulers. But apart from that, no changes came in the social, in the economical, and in the cultural life of human beings. Such a division also ignored the rich diversity of the subcontinent. And in such a kind of microscopic eye view, the people forgot that there is a great chance, there is a huge amount of diversity in Indian society, and they should follow it. But the people usually forgot. Historians usually forgot. Few historians follow the periodization period periodization today. Most look to economic and social factors to the characteristic of major elements of the different movements of the past. Now, some few historians follow the false policy of periodization. Periodization means dividing history into various kind of periods today. Okay, most look to economic and social factors to characterize the major elements of different moments of the past. Okay, the historians you read last year included a wide range of early societies: hunter gatherers, early farmers, people living in towns and villages, and early early empires and kingdoms. Now, in our previous chapter, we have already studied a lot of things like the earlier society. I mean, previous class, we have already studied that the early people used to be hunter gatherer. Okay, and later on, then agriculture developed and the people became early farmers. Then people started living in town and villages. Then small empires, early empires came into existence, and kingdom also. The historians you will be studying this year are often described as medieval. Now, your seventh class book, or past part second, is described as medieval history book. You will find out more about the spread of peasant societies, the rise of regional and imperial state formations, sometimes at the cost of pastoral and forest people, the development of Hinduism and Islam as a major religion, and the arrival of European trading companies. Now, in this period, in medieval time period, what do we study? So we will study about the spread of peasant societies, how the peasant societies were spreading out in all the communities. Then what will we read further? The rise of regional and imperial state formation. In ancient India, usually the power was, I mean, autocratic. The most powerful emperor used to be the emperor of the whole India. But in medieval period, the regional power also came into existence. I mean, regional emperors, regional people used to be powerful in a particular region, and they were given preferences also. So you will find out more about the spread of peasant societies, the rise of religious and imperial state formation. Then sometimes at the cost of pastoral and forest people, the development of Hinduism and Islam. Sometimes at the cost of pastoral. You know pastoral? What do you mean by pastoral? Pastoral means, some village side people, and forest mean tribe people. The development of Hinduism and Islam as major religions, and the arrival of European trade. And what will we study? We will study about the story of tribes, the story of village side people, then how the Islam and Hinduism became the major religions in the country, and how the European East Indian Company came into existence. So we will all study about these things in this particular book, in your second book. So I think now we are about to finish this chapter, but that is sufficient for today. You just please keep on studying all these chapters, and if you find any kind of problem, then immediately ask it to me. Okay, immediately ask it to me. So now what is your homework? You just solve first and second question of your book. What is your homework? From your exercise, let's recall part question number 1 and 2 you have to solve. That is your homework. Take care about yourself. Meet you in next class. Thank you. All the best.